Oh, it's recording. Hello everyone, this is the constraint utility maximization. Now we're going to put the budget constraint and indifference curves together. So before that, I actually want to go back and I am going to show you what we are doing. So indifference curves show you, here's an indifference curve example. We have cakes in the y-axis and we have quantity of movies, consumed movies on the x-axis. Indifference curves are here. Higher indifference curve is better. It's convex to the origin and it exhibits diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Indifference curve is a graphical representation of all bundles of goods and services that make an individual equally well off. Okay, so we talked about marginal utility. You have to watch parts 1, 2, and 3 to catch up. I'm just giving you a quick glimpse of what we did. We talked about marginal rate of substitution, which is the slope of the indifference curve. We talked about diminishing marginal rate of substitution, which in short means that as you consume more and more movies, right, you're going to be willing to give up fewer and fewer cakes to get one more movie. If you already have so many movies, if you've already watched so many movies, you're going to be willing to give up fewer cakes if to be able to watch one more movie. Okay, so that's what it means. And then we talked about this marginal rate of substitution. This is the slope of the indifference curve. And marginal rate of substitution, slope of the indifference curve, is negative of marginal utility from movies, whatever you have on the x-axis, divided by, remember we had movies here, we had cakes here. Marginal utility of movies divided by marginal utility of cakes, negative sign. Okay, then next part we learned about budget constraints. Budget constraints are basically what you can afford. This is a crushing reality, right? I want a Lamborghini, I want a Tesla, I want a Ford Focus, I want all these cars, but I have so much budget. I can, well, among all these cars I counted, I think with my budget, I think I could go for Ford Focus because Tesla is a little bit more expensive than I would like to pay. Lamborghini is definitely out of my budget constraint, okay? So then we derived budget constraints in the previous part. Please go ahead and watch that video too. And as you can see, oops, I'm going a little bit faster, folks. I'm sorry. So this is the budget constraint for cakes and movies, where you have income of $30 and price of movies and cakes are both equal to $10 each. Okay, so this is your set of opportunities you can afford. So what we're trying to do is, this is what you can go up to, this red line. And what we're trying to do, folks, is that I have all these indifference curves, right? This is the indifference curve 1, utility level. This is indifference curve 2. They need to be parallel. My drawing is not the best. And there are so many indifference curves. And there's one indifference curve right here. So I'm trying to reach to the maximum indifference curve. This is horrible drawing. I apologize. But the great graphs are coming up. So I'm trying to reach to the highest indifference curve that I can afford with this budget line, right? I need to be on this red line, but I'm trying to afford the highest indifference curve. Okay, then now let's get started to the constraint utility maximization. So again, please do watch those 3 videos and I'll put the links up here sometime. All right, so we're at this utility maximization part of this chapter. So slope of the budget constraint is negative price of whatever you have on the x-axis, negative price of whatever you have on the x-axis, divided by the price of whatever good you have on the y-axis. So if we draw this, right, we have M here, movies and cakes here. So your budget line looks like this. Budget line is going to be Y. This is not the y-axis Y, don't get, this is your income, capital Y, divided by price of movies. And if you spend all your money on cakes, all your income divided by price of cakes. Again, watch the previous video if you have any questions. Slope of this line, the budget constraint, is negative PM over PC. What we do, remember, we have rise over run, easy formula. Y over PC divided by Y over PM. All right, it's also downward sloping line, so it's going to have a negative sign. So assume that government actions can change a consumer's budget constraint, BC, or for budget constraint. I'm lazy. But a consumer's preferences are fixed. Okay, so what's the highest indifference curve that an individual can reach given a budget constraint? That's what we're doing. I just showed you in the graph, right? What's the highest indifference curve I can reach with the given budget constraint? So your preferences, indifference curves are like your wishes and what consumer wants, right? What you want. Budget constraint is like crushing reality, right? I have so much money. I want a Tesla, I want a Lamborghini, and I want a Ford Focus, but I can only afford Ford Focus, okay? So budget constraint is a crushing reality, what a consumer can actually purchase. So utility maximization takes these two things into consideration. So you have this budget line we derived in previous parts. Okay, this indifference curves is not utility maximizing because there are bundles that give higher utility. Yes, sure, this person can choose this indifference curve, but you have actually not utilized all your resources. This indifference curve gives much higher utility. We love it, but it's unattainable. Why? Because you need to be on this. You need to be on this. You need to be on this at least budget constraint. All right. So another indifference curve, this bundle of goods gives the highest utility subject to this budget constraint. So you need to be on this budget constraint, but you need to achieve the highest indifference curve you can still, while you still stay on this budget constraint, right? While you can still afford, I was going to say. So that means we are looking for a tangency point between the highest indifference curve and this budget constraint. So the utility maximizing choice, aka the optimal choice, is where the indifference curve is tangent to the budget constraint. Indifference curve is touching at one point only. So at this point, this is a very special point. The slope of the indifference curve is exactly equal to the slope of the budget constraint. Okay, so the marginal rate of substitution, right, the slope of the indifference curve is going to be equal to the ratio of prices. So marginal rate of substitution, negative marginal utility of movies divided by marginal utility from cakes equals to negative of the price ratio. So at the optimum, the ratio of the marginal utilities equals to the ratio of prices. All right, but this is not the only condition of utility maximization. This is the optimal point. All right. So the marginal rate of substitution equals to the price ratio at this bundle, but it is unaffordable. Okay, so this is not unaffordable at this point. So yes, look, the slopes are equal here, but this guy is unaffordable. So what do you mean? What's the second condition, Dr. G? Second condition is you're actually on your budget constraint. But before that, again, another example of marginal rate of substitution equals to the price ratio at this bundle too, but it wastes resources. I'm not using all my money here, and here I'm using too much of my money. Okay, so the second condition is all of the money spent. Remember, in this model, you can't borrow and you cannot actually lend money or save money. So you need to satisfy this, your total expenditure on movies and the cakes has to be equal to, this is your budget line, budget constraint, that equal to your income, okay? These two conditions must be satisfied for utility maximization. In next part, we're going to learn about substitution and income effects of price changes. So what happens if the price of movies goes up or down? What happens if the price of cakes goes up or down? How do we behave? We're going to learn all about that in next part. Two things again, I'm tired of reminding, I'm not. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And second one is hit the like button. When you hit the like button, I get like stars, colorful sparkles. You'll see it. It's so funny. I enjoy just hitting the like button because when you do that, this video is pushed in front of the eyeballs of those students who are struggling with public finance, struggling with economics, trying to get a better grade, or trying to earn A in their classes. So do that, and I'll see you in the next part. Bye.